Come on. Yeah, the fabulous 8-Bit Bros program. You can check them out here on Ironic Radio Network. 8-Bit Bros. That's number 8. Then bit. Then bros. One word. I strongly encourage you to stay tuned for that. And if you want, they also have a Facebook page and a much better live show. Anyway, 8-Bit Bros, 8 p.m., Ironic Radio Network.
It's 8 o'clock, and you know what that means.
Oh, what's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of 8-Bit Bros. It is Tuesday, a.k.a. Early Edition. Oh, what a weekend. What a crazy time in this world it is.
Oh, yeah.
So much to talk about. So many things to say. With that being said, this is not a kid-friendly show. Adult language, adult content. Do the right thing, people. Put your kids in the closet.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Oh, how do you like that, buddy? How's that feel?
Oh, God.
How's that feel?
I'm listening to 8-Bit Bros.
Yeah, Ren called it. Tuesday, early edition. 8-Bit Bros in the house. Center box gets the square. Yeah, okay. Over here. Web boy. Yeah, to the right. 846 miles south. The one and only Something Loud. Do I have a mic? Can you?
Yeah, we hear you, brother.
All right, good. I wanted to make sure. What up, gentlemen?
Yeah, Ren's no response there at the beginning. He was like, kind of fuck talking to anybody.
Yeah, I think he's tired of being center box gets a square. I have to come up with something new. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, he was just
I'm okay with center box. I'm okay with center box. Sorry, I've got a lot of different things going on
Sure.
work-wise right now.
Sure.
So I was answering a question. Bad
Gotcha.
timing. I
Gotcha.
tuned the ears out and was listening to myself read in my head.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Welcome to the
Like, didn't hear anything, was concentrating on writing the right answer and not what I'm hearing in my head.
Right.
Welcome
I
to the
hear
8-Bit
it.
Bro Show, where we don't 8-bit.
Well, we bro.
Bro.
I mean, it happens. Anybody check out Dorsey and Zuckerberg on Senate committee today?
No.
Oh, Ted Cruz roasted Dorsey.
This is the second time he roasted him. He roasted him the last time over Section 230.
Hold
He
on.
fucking got him again on Section 230.
Hold
and
on.
this time, go ahead.
Hold on, before you go into it.
Yeah. I see.
What if he just gets ready? What if he just gets tired of doing these conversations and feeling responsible for the world
Sure.
in his social media posts? What if he shuts down Facebook?
I would love to see that happen. It'll never happen because there's too much money that they
He doesn't need to make any more money.
It's not the matter of him making other people that make the money.
See, this is
What are we talking about right now?
This is what I wanted to get into when we were talking about social media's responsibility inside the economic network of the world, and
Yep.
whether or not their ability to police language is relative or necessary, because these are businesses when it really comes down to it, and
Right.
I'm sorry, but if you kept dragging me in month after month after month after month into one country, into the government of one country to talk to me about what you feel my opinion should be,
right,
I could just say fuck you and walk away. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah, true.
What, the government going to open their own Facebook? Yeah, how many people are going to use that shit? Like, what is that level of responsibility and give a fuck? Like, not for anything, Twitter. Say fuck you. You don't need to drag me into court to tell me what I can do. It's my business.
Right. I get that point. J7 in the house. What up, J7?
Hello.
We just started. I just brought up the. I asked if anybody watched Dorsey and Zuckerberg, on Senate floor today.
Oh no, I did not watch that.
And Ted Cruz once again roasted the shit out of Jack Dorsey.
Ted Cruz needs to sit down and have a drink and just
and help people figure out who the president is currently, because we shouldn't really be wasting our time with other shit, especially social media platforms.
That's a whole
like seriously, what the hell? I mean, I think I'm kind of with you, Thump. I don't really think it's really necessary to continue to drag these people into court to talk about what? Like, is it the responsibility they have? Is it about censorship?
Sure, it's about censorship.
Or is it about the power that they have economically? I thought that was what the
I thought that's what this was actually about now. It's the antitrust shit is what they're really getting into, and about what power they have in...
Today was all about, once again, Section 230.
Okay, well...
Nothing to do with the economics or algorithms or AI learning or none of that. Today was all about how you fucking lied through the entire elections and now you got caught.
Well, that's a very biased opinion. That's a very biased opinion to have. And at this point, it is just an opinion, because we can honestly say that we're smarter than that one opinion that you just stated, and we know that there is manipulation on all counts from all directions. So technically, lying is not what they did. They just didn't tell you the whole truth.
So Cruz,
what was the lie exactly that you're referring to?
Cruz asked Dorsey flat out about all the shit going on Twitter, and aren't you a publisher? You're a publisher. And Dorsey turned around and said, well, yeah, we are publishers.
In a really loose way. Yeah.
No, well, that's what they do. They publish content on the internet. They're publishers.
Okay, sure.
Right? So it's
a really outdated definition of what a publisher does.
They provide paper in which I publish it.
Right. Like they don't really,
here is when these guys were lobbying for Section 230 to protect themselves, they were not publishers. You were the publisher.
Right.
But you kind of are.
Then if Twitter is republishing your content,
Twitter doesn't retweet my tweets.
No, they publish the content. You type it in and they publish it. You're the publisher. Then what?
I type it in, I hit enter, and I publish it.
If Facebook and Twitter are publishers, it goes against exactly what they lobbied for in Section 230, which was to protect. It's not protected.
You're the publisher. You are the person who's publishing the content.
Not as per Jack Dorsey and Zuckerberg today. They are the publishers.
Okay, so today they've decided that they are going to take this is what I'm saying about the position. What is their position in this really? Because as far as what they really are, now if they say now that they're the publishers, that means that they review every piece of work that goes onto the platform and approve or deny the publishing of every piece that goes onto the platform.
Sure.
Right. And that means they're saying that they are now accountable for the content. So they're within their rights to censor the shit out of you, basically.
And that was exactly what his next point was. So Cruz, asked Dorsey, if I tweeted this, would it go against Twitter's policy? Quote, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud.
It would get flagged as.
Dorsey's reply was, I would imagine that we would label it so people can have more context. So then he said, okay, well, how about this quote? Voter fraud is particularly possible when, quote, third-party organizations, candidates, and political party activists are involved in, quote, handling absentee ballots. Would you flag that as potentially misleading?
I guess they should. I mean, it sounds like it's debatable, and you probably need a lot more context.
It's also the greatest meme on Twitter right now, too, is everybody flagging their own content.
Yeah. So Dorsey replied, I don't know the specifics of how we might enforce that, but I'd imagine a lot of these would have a label pointing people to a bigger conversation.
Right.
So Cruz responded, well, you're right. You would label them because you've taken the political position right now that voter fraud doesn't exist.
That's not what that means.
That's not. Okay, well, then in that case, Cruz didn't roast him. Cruz just turned around and made his own political statement to try and make an argument here instead of actually saying that somebody. No, he didn't. Okay.
I didn't even finish the quote. I will end the quote and you can have your discussion. Well, you're right. You would label them because you've taken the political position right now that voter fraud doesn't exist. I would note both of these quotes come from the Carter-Baker Commission on Federal Election Reform, and that's Democratic President Jimmy Carter and former Secretary of State James Baker. So their quote from over 20 years ago would be misleading.
So essentially,
are you saying that because they flag? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just saying it doesn't really matter where the quote came from. Like when you say something without context, it really doesn't matter. Their job as the people who run this site is to flag it and say this needs more context. It really, it doesn't matter if you're quoting Hitler or if you're quoting whoever, right? They're not taking a position either way. They're just saying
Twitter has taken up the position that voter fraud doesn't exist. If you type anything on Twitter has anything to do with voter fraud, it gets flagged immediately. You either get sent to a larger conversation.
Hold on, them flagging it doesn't regulate the conversation. No, see, but what you're saying is them taking a position by putting the flag up. That's not them taking a position. That is going, hey, acknowledge the fact that there is a conversation going on around this right now, and you may need to find more information. That's not taking the position. That's going, just remember that this is a slippery slope and maybe you need to walk around it.
I'm not arguing either way for this.
Well, actually, yes, you did. Because when we tried to say that they didn't take a political position, you immediately hold on. Yeah, we let you speak.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your statement.
I'm speaking.
Yeah. Okay, Kamala.
Okay. So you ended your statement previously with a reasonable pause gap because you knew the two of us would probably interject there to make a statement. Then you turned around and said, well, I didn't finish my quote, even though you paused intentionally to give a stopgap. See, and now you're going to try and talk over me.
No, I'm answering your question.
I'm speaking.
We stopped, and I didn't. I lost my space because I was looking at your window. I lost my spot.
Something you normally don't do during the course of a show. You decide to use an excuse as what you did during this moment.
I can close out of the little window right now and not see any of you. I'm cool with that, but I'm trying to be more proactive and.
Okay. Well, this is good usage of your debate ability here, but at the same time, it also doesn't carry a lot of weight with somebody who's been doing a show with you for 4 years. So
again, be the douche. Go for it.
But what I'm saying is based on this statement that you made, Twitter is not taking a political stance. What they are doing is exactly what they said they would do, is that if the conversation starts to get muddy, we will let you know that this conversation can be muddy.
Right.
That's not taking a political stance that voter fraud is not real. That is going, when somebody says something about voter fraud, you may want to look into what they're saying about it.
Right. But they usually point you to a fucking conversation where voter fraud is not real. It doesn't.
Well, that's the conversation that may be going
on. Yeah, I mean, and then the research that they point to is the latest research.
And not for anything, actually, it's widely acknowledged that voter fraud is real, just not as rampant as what's being displayed. So the argument that's being made is not that voter fraud is fake, it's that it's just not as big as what it's being made to be.
Cruz then finished up his statement by saying Twitter's position is essentially voter fraud does not exist. He asked Dorsey, are you aware that just 2 weeks ago in the state of Texas, a woman was charged with 134 counts of election fraud?
And
Dorsey answered, I am not aware of that.
Yeah, why would he know anything about that? That's retarded.
Yeah, why is it his position to know that one lady was charged with 134 counts of voter fraud?
Like, is he supposed to be a Texas election official? Like,
yes, you take up the position that voter fraud isn't real.
But you keep saying that.
Yeah, but when has he taken this position? When is it? Like, when do any of these things say this statement is false? Voter fraud is not real. When do any of these statements say this? Are they being flagged? This is fake news.
It's not a matter of whether it's Dorsey's answers to the prior questions when he gave him quotes and he was like, well, yeah, we'd have to flag that because, we don't, because.
Okay, so what? I have a question. What does the flag actually say?
Yeah,
does the flag
say it's fake?
Fake news.
No, I haven't seen a single flag that says fake news.
No, okay. It usually points you to a correction on it going, oh, this is not true, and here's why.
Ooh, let me get
That's
on
called
Twitter
fake
right
news.
Now and actually
Come on. Let's actually experiment. I guess the best example would be
you can't experiment. You can't.
Just go to the presidential tweets and see how many of those that we need to go under.
And see how many of those are flagged.
Oh, 90% of his tweets lately are flagged, so.
Yeah.
You can't actually, if you tweet about voter fraud or election fraud or anything like that, it doesn't get flagged anymore.
Okay, so an hour ago, the president said, today, yes, the only thing secure about our 2020 election was that it was virtually impenetrable by foreign powers. On that, the Trump administration takes great credit. Unfortunately, the radical left Democrats, Dominion, and others were perhaps more successful. And it is flagged. It says this claim about election fraud is disputed.
Yeah, and then when you click the link, voter fraud of any kind is exceedingly rare in the U.S. election, experts confirm. Right. What do you need to know? Here's USA Today, here's AP Politics, here's NBC News. Here are a bunch of articles talking about how voter fraud is commonly viewed.
Right. I'm not saying either way it's right or wrong. But
but what you're saying is one guy took a stance and the other guy didn't really take a stance.
Fucking links will point you to, like he said, the 134 fucking voter fraud the bitch got caught on, or 143 fucking election fraud. I bet you won't point you to that. It may talk about AP Press trash, talking about how it is very uncommon, and it's really not uncommon. It's just never done on a large scale.
Well, that makes it uncommon. That's just like when, it's just like when you go in and play Destiny. That's just like when you go in and play Destiny. Exotics exist, period, but they are extremely uncommon.
Right, rare.
Rare, right.
I don't think fraud is necessarily rare. It happens in every election. It's just not as it's not as big. You don't hear
the exact definition of rarity. It exists. It's just not.
Wait a second.
It's not the big. It's just not the statement.
Every election, how is that rare? Explain that. Do you know what the word rare means? Rare means uncommon. It happens. It's rare. Voter fraud happens every election. That's proven. We're already
Does it happen in a large scale way, though? Does it happen in a way that would decide elections?
Oh, so if it only happens once or twice, it's rare.
Hold on.
But if it happens a little bit,
but that's
hold on,
no.
Here's hold on. I get what you're doing right now, and I've got my validation to what I'm saying.
Right.
The reason these comments are being flagged are because of words like massive voter fraud, which is an incorrect statement.
True. Agreed completely. It's not massive. It's on a very small scale. It happens every election.
So what you're saying about rare and it being every election, like I get where your wordplay is coming in here, and you and I do this very well together, where we pick apart each other's statements because of the actual words being used. And so this is what's being flagged is massive, overwhelming, the words that are used to create a larger picture of something that is not as big of a picture.
Right.
And that's what's being flagged. Also, it's not a political stance that's been taken in any way, because I want to get back to the Ted Cruz comment. They have not taken a political stance that voter fraud doesn't exist. They are taking a stance that don't let these words of massive, overwhelming, unrelenting, humongous voter fraud, like, don't take these words as fact, because these words are not necessarily the fact. The facts are that it's small, it's everywhere, but it's like one idiot deciding to send in his mail-in ballot and then go and vote, and getting away with both of them. It's little shit the whole way. It's not big shit. Even though it's every election, it's still not huge. It doesn't actually influence the vote in these areas. When they talk about the space that is the difference between being able to flip states now,
right?
The provable voter fraud is not even 1% of these flippable votes.
See, I think the whole issue here was more of the bias. That where Twitter and Facebook were supposed to be this uncensored, open, and the bias is really where all the senators were coming from today. Was you're biased. You have a bias, and it's supposed to be open, free speech. Why are you biasing towards one side or the other? That was the big thing. I think Cruz took it a little bit further than he should have, but he did get him to admit that they were publishers, which goes against Section 230 of what they even fucking lobbied for. So that's a whole nother story in itself.
So that's pretty interesting. I really love how inconsistent we are as humans, because I remember 4 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg got dragged to Congress.
Yep.
Because they were not doing enough to protect the sanctity of the space that we're all in. Sure, and, we were all seeing fake news and, crazy. And then the whole discussion about, like, my mom learned what a sock puppet account was in 2016. Like, she was like, what are sock puppet account? Like, I feel like lots of people were, as a result of that, educated as to how these platforms could be manipulated by people who have ill intent and who are trying to influence your decision and are really, in whatever way, really. And that was the discussion for a while in 2016, into 2017.
Well, that was also trying to prove Russian collusion.
Right.
And election interference.
Right. And now that they have taken steps to flag things that are potentially misleading, they're doing too much. Oh no, you're taking a side. Like, which is it, guys? Do you want us to interfere with? Do you want us to treat this like an open kind of Wild West where you can just say whatever you want, regardless of what kind of crazy fantasy it is, or do you want us to be responsible for this platform and take responsibility for what we've built and be empathic about it, and just, practice some kind of, I guess, design empathy, right? Like, which is it? What do we want from them? What do we want them to do? Because I guarantee whatever it is we say we want, they're going to do because they want to keep us on their platforms.
Do you think it also has anything to do with the $97 million that Google, Facebook, and Twitter donated to Joe Biden's political campaign? The Senate
what does that have to do with?
Is there a law that prohibits them from being able to do such a thing?
No, of course not. But you know how that all works. I mean, you know how that works. You donate large sums of money to the presidential campaign, whatever side it is, Republican, Democratic, Tea Party, Independent, don't give a shit. And when you talk large sums of money, in the hopes that, well, if they get elected, they'll remember that I gave them $50 million and maybe this will go away. I mean, look at the tobacco industry. They give fucking $350 million. And has the government ever tried to force you to stop smoking? Has the government ever done? No, they haven't. No, they haven't.
I mean, they encourage
they've suggested
you.
It.
Yeah, right.
But they don't say, if you're under 40, you can't smoke.
Well, no, they don't say that with anything.
Right. Same thing with alcohol. Why? Because Budweiser gives $230 million to the presidential campaign.
Sure. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and argue that lobbying isn't a thing.
Right.
But
now, is that biased? Is that the other issue here? I mean, the Senate is.
Are you saying that the reason they're flagging things is because they made a donation to a political campaign? I feel like that.
I'm not saying bias, maybe.
Okay, but hold on.
I'm not.
So what is the bias? Like, I guess I don't understand.
How is bias reflected here? Okay, so what is the left saying that is fake that is not being flagged? I guess that's where's the counterpoint?
Yeah.
Where is the other side of the? Because in order for there to be bias, there has to be 2 points.
That's right.
There's not 2 points.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
There's only 1 point. So bias is in the fact that there's not even 2 topics to discuss.
Exactly. I don't quite understand it all. I raised the questions today because I don't really fucking understand it.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, though. So
and I don't know why.
So Cruz misquoted by saying they're saying that voter fraud doesn't exist because that's not technically what they're saying. They're saying that you should probably just look at this because it's not as wild as it's being claimed to be. So, and that's what they're wanting you to look at. And they don't have to cite specific incidents to say that, see, here's voter fraud. They don't, that argument's not the one that's.
Well, I like Twitter and Facebook do by pointing to you to a larger conversation. It gives you, the user, the reader, the ability to do more research and learn.
Right.
I like that.
Right. That's
where he's coming off with the bias. I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem biased. I mean, it's not like somebody on the other side of the conversation is going, there isn't a grouping that says voter fraud doesn't exist that is publishing these massive voter fraud is not a thing.
I mean, but you don't need opposite side. You're right. You would need. You would need
somebody like Tucker Carlson, only liberal. You know what I mean? Like, it would have to be on that level of craziness.
I like Tucker. He's funny.
Yeah, but I'm saying it would take. You got to have that, like, what you see coming out from the president's tweets about how widespread voter fraud in Georgia is a thing. There's nobody on the other side of that conversation going, there is zero voter fraud in Georgia.
Right.
So there's no need for bias. There's one side putting out a false idea. And they're going, just remember this isn't completely true.
I mean, what was Lindsey Graham's deal in Georgia? I don't know what that whole story is. And haven't they already found 2,600 votes that weren't counted?
They found 800 votes.
Okay, and that's still not of the 30,000 plus that are needed.
2,600 as of an hour ago.
Okay.
Okay, but that's also still not even enough of a percentage to change anything.
Well, they're still counting, aren't they?
That's
I don't know.
Fine. They're counting, but the whole thing with Lindsey Graham.
That was one county, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, apparently they had a computer issue, but the whole thing with Lindsey Graham is apparently somebody from Georgia said that when he talked to Lindsey Graham pretty much said, look hard to see if you can throw out any ballots. Like, and then Lindsey Graham was like, what the hell? I didn't say that. I just told you to double check and make sure that the signatures match. And he said, is there any way we can have bipartisan, one person from each party looking at
bipartisan oversight?
Yeah, like bipartisan oversight.
They do that though, don't they? I thought there was always two people there or some shit.
They're always like there's poll watchers.
In Georgia particularly, the recount station that they were talking about, the one that was really brought up as the big point, was they tried to use COVID and social distancing to say that, okay, you can be in the room, but you can't be here by the counters.
Yeah.
You can
so then I think they said they had to move people so that they were
the conspiracy behind that was that they weren't being given the over-the-shoulder access that they normally would during a voter like oversight, that they couldn't go, all right, those signatures match. Okay, those signatures, like all three people standing there, the counter and the two oversights going, okay, your opinion there is accurate. Okay, your opinion there is accurate. Okay, your opinion there is accurate. Like, they were in the room, but they weren't over the counter like they traditionally would be.
Right.
And that was the big thing. Oh, well, they're not even being allowed to oversee. And then you find out that it was a social distancing thing and that it was less of an issue. Like, what you hear is one side blowing up a big portion of something that's really not been as serious as they've been saying it. Where you're not hearing the other side say that, oh, well, this is completely false. They're right there in the room doing everything. You don't get the opposite opinion. You just get somebody going, well, that's not exactly right. So they're not being biased. They're just going, check your facts, folks. Like, this may not be completely true.
That's what I kind of thought too. I wasn't really getting it in a lot of the things I was hearing as, Cruz got Dorsey to say, well, we're publishers.
Yeah, now that's big.
Yeah, that is big.
That's really big. Yeah, I mean, if they're saying that they're publishers, then they're taking on a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, that essentially means that when I tweet something, they review it and then it gets published.
Right.
By them, that they are making my tweet, not me making my tweet. Which is also the ironic thing about the meme that you're seeing all across Twitter, which is hilarious, is everybody flagging their own content. Which I hope everybody's smart enough to know that a black flag is you flagging your own content. The blue flag is Twitter flagging your content. Just hoping that people are smart enough to realize that how that is actually taking place right now.
The other thing that was brought up was the banning, or I don't want to say banning,
the temporary New York Times,
New York Post.
Yeah, New York Post pause in publication on Twitter. Yeah.
About the Hunter Biden story and the laptops and all that crap.
Well, they overstepped their bounds, and they had to retract that, and they had to back up on what they had done because it was definitely a clear violation of their policy to suspend an account that may have just published some wild conspiracy. Like,
sure.
They overstepped their bounds, but they also pulled back on that too, with the understanding that they had overstepped their bounds.
Yeah, Dorsey admitted today that those actions were completely wrong, and they should never have put the temp ban or 2-week ban on the Post.
Yeah, it was something that should have never taken place.
But
and they understood that, but if they could have got away with it. If it wasn't for everybody speaking up and going, whoa, free speech, motherfucker, like, we know that some of this shit is bullshit, and if you want to call us on the bullshit and say it's bullshit, then that's fine. But for you to just take their voice completely away from the conversation is wrong. And everybody stepped in on that. Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, like Twitter as a whole, even though they didn't agree with the story, was like, I think you went a little too far here, bud.
The funny part was he said, that they made a quick interpretation using no other evidence than the materials in the article. No other evidence that the materials in the article were obtained through hacking, and according to their policy, we blocked them from being spread because, it's not good to spread information that was hacked. Hello. You did that all with Hillary Clinton shit.
But no, they did that a couple months ago with Bitcoin advertisements.
Yep. Okay. Dorsey testified, upon further consideration, we admit this action was wrong and it was corrected within 24 hours. That's a lie because the Post's Twitter account was banned for 2 weeks. And
it did not serve. It did not serve the full 2-week ban. It did not serve the 2. Nope. It did not.
I thought it was November 2nd.
They rescinded it after.
Yeah, I thought it was on November 2nd.
No, it was no. Their account was back live well before that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing stuff from the Post like long before then.
Yeah, the conversation sparked such backlash that their reaction wasn't long for suspending the account and then having it back up.
Of course, I can't get that, but I thought that was, and they did it again back in October too, or some shit. Anyway,
yeah, it's not the first time they've had a couple different news outlets with stuff like this. I mean, not for anything. There's one big argument that needs to be made in this fight for heroism across the board. All of these people need to free Alex Jones. Twitter, YouTube, everybody. If you want to demonetize on YouTube because you say his shit's controversial, fine. Do like you do with Joe Rogan. Let Joe Rogan fucking monetize his own content. He doesn't need YouTube's money in order to monetize. Like fuck it. Don't deal with him on that level. But even if what he's saying, dude, they're turning the frogs gay. The world needs this kind of comedy. You need to understand that there are fucking wild fucking conspiracy theories out there that if you want to just dub it conspiracy theory conversation, fine, put it in its own category, but don't stop the ability for any speech to take place.
I have some clarification on that. Dorsey went on to say that Twitter told the New York Post that they could unlock their account by deleting their tweets with the article. And then they would be able to tweet them again.
Oh, so then they tweeted them again after their account was reinstated?
Instead pushed for Twitter to reverse the decision to block them in the first place, which I agree with the Post. You're blocking journalism.
Yeah.
But Dorsey said, well, we're sorry, we don't know how to do that. We can't just unlock your account. You have to delete the tweets. And then retweet.
So wait, the account was locked.
They have no way to reverse their ban.
Right, it's like my account. My Twitter account has been banned because of tweets that I don't own the content to, that was allegedly pointing people in the direction of bad stuff.
You were committing fraud.
No, I was allegedly posting things how you could watch something on the internet.
Yeah, you were trying to use a workaround to get to content that was.
My posts were 100% legal. It's the second time I've been banned for this. 100% legal.
What were you linking to?
Way to watch stuff for free.
WWE. No, right? Yeah, way to watch.
It was linking to the WWE website, and they didn't like the fact that it just said where to watch WWE.
Right. The link was right to their website, directly to their website.
And to WWE? The WWE website?
And they said Vince doesn't stand for that shit.
Yeah, and they said I was posting fraudulent information. Twitter has blocked my account. I have fought with Twitter on it. I will not do what they wanted me to do.
Yeah,
what is it that they want you to do?
Go back to tweets. Go fuck yourself. They were legal to begin with. You take it up with the people who reported me. My shit was legal.
Part of the problem in that though was the fact that you were also linking at one point to outside sources to be able to get around content pay windows. You said you said on this show. Go back to the episode on the show where you said I was saying how you could go watch it for free.
Business partner on the other side will agree with that. 100% legal tweets.
So whatever, just delete them. Who cares? They're just tweets.
It's the point of the principle. It's the principle.
Okay.
Well, then you can just stay principally locked behind their wall.
I have for 1 year.
Well, have fun with it.
I don't give a shit about Twitter. Twitter's like almost pointless now because of the same bickering bullshit that happens. It's disgusting. You tweet something and you get 45 attacks.
I love it.
It can be pretty toxic.
I love it. I actually thoroughly enjoy the fact that Twitter was the wild, wild west, and I like the fact that the conversations could be had. Point blank. I don't give a damn if you're getting attacked. I don't give a damn if I'm getting attacked. I don't care. That's not.
There is no conversations anymore. That's the problem.
Really?
I
see a lot of conversations. I'm part of a lot of really good conversations on Twitter.
Do you start the conversations, or do you just comment on other people's shit? That is my point. If you're the conversation starter, you have to weed through all the bullshit.
So you're saying that the only thing Twitter is feeding people is all the negative of their accounts?
No, I think
if you make a statement that the only thing
that
that Twitter is feeding you is the negative side, so you have to fight through the negative to get to the conversation?
Right. You get a lot of fucking bullshit. I mean, you get it on Facebook too, but at least the audience is a little bit more limited because.
I mean, we get it on this show, and it's very limited. We make a statement, and a fucker from nowhere likes to come in unknown and not even have a conversation about anything. They just like to be toxic. Like, okay, so that's just the state of the world. So if that's what your complaint is about Twitter, is Twitter reflects the state of the world, then that's a personal problem.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
I'm sorry. I was just watching all the people flag their own content. It's hysterical.
It's fucking hilarious. But like I said, Twitter? Make sure that you understand that black flag, just like in government, a black flag attack, is them attacking themselves and making it seem like somebody else did it. It's the same thing on Twitter right now. If you see a black flag, that is somebody being a goofball fucktard and enjoying a little bit of the ham it up side of the world right now. But if you see a blue flag, that is Twitter going, hey, you should probably look at this. I actually saw a tweet from one of the Washington Redskins or the Washington football team journalist, and he's like, we're still in the hunt for the playoffs. We could still do this. And then he flagged it, with the black flag. And one of the first 3 comments to respond back was, shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a damn about the fucking playoffs. I don't see why we're still having this fucking conversation. This is such bullshit. Shut the fuck up. And it's like, all the journalist did was, you clearly didn't get the joke. Like, because the conversation itself is contentious. So for him to flag the content as contentious was the point. He made the statement and flagged it as contentious because literally the NFC East, that statement is true across the board for the NFC East. This team has a shot at the playoffs. Every single team in the NFC East at this point of the season still has a shot at the fucking playoffs. So it's a contentious comment, period. And that was the joke. And this dude took it way too serious about the playoffs. It was like really butthurt that this guy was like, still in the playoffs. It's like, dude, the comment was meant to be a joke in itself because that's it. And that's what all of these false flags are. Is there somebody making, like, I saw somebody retweeted the Trump "I won the election" tweet that's been flagged with the blue flag. And then they tweeted a retweet with a comment No, I won the election and black flagged it.
Who's got control of our fucking Twitter account? Ren, you?
What?
You got control of our Twitter account, right?
He just got it back 2 weeks ago?
I'm just trying to
got it back a month ago.
Oh, that's right. It was a month ago.
As I'm looking through the timeline here, I am fucking flagging shit myself and unfollowing it and telling it to never show up. Why do we have all this porn in our timeline?
I have no idea what's in our timeline. I don't look at our timeline.
Who wants to watch a black chick suck a dick?
I don't watch our timeline, bro.
Not for anything.
Our timeline should be there to post.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
Not for anything. I'm a big fan, but I mean, if I want to do that, I just go into the other room.
Exactly. And just Scarlet Dreams.
Wait, so did somebody hack your account and start posting a bunch of porn?
Unfollow that one. I don't know the fuck
no,
that
this is just timeline stuff.
Oh, okay. So it's not your actual Twitter, like. Okay.
No, it's not, because these are followers. I'm looking at porn photos, and it's right here, following Shannon Moakler.
Wait, people our account follows?
Uh-huh.
Maybe you should stop following all those porn accounts then, if you don't want them to show up on your timeline.
I haven't been on, and this is the first time I'm logged in under 8-bit Twitter in fucking...
Who put all this porn here?
I love it.
This is crazy.
It's Twitter. Twitter put all the porn there? Because now they're the publisher, so Twitter put the porn there.
Well, they are. All right. Yeah. See, you're talking about NFL and COVID, and I definitely wanted to bring that up. Redskins, football team.
Yes,
that's all.
The Washington football team.
No, don't even show up Washington. It's a W football team.
Actually, WFT, which our fan base hates because every time we see it, we think, what the fuck?
Yeah,
WTF.
What it should have been. Should have just played a moniker on that. You guys came down with some COVID. Not a big deal. I don't think anybody's been put on the exempt list yet. But
okay, I don't care.
It's widespread in the NFL now.
I don't care.
Like
the COVID conversation, I literally do not care about in professional
we've had this
sports.
Conversation before, but what are these professional sports? Period. These are the people getting paid millions upon millions of dollars. What are they doing? Why? What is the staff of these teams doing that they're coming down with COVID twice as much as the players?
Guess what? I'll tell you. Check and see how many of them have dogs.
Well, dogs spread COVID.
Dogs?
SARS-CoV-2 is actually being found to be the highest contact point.
Yeah. Told you having a pet dog was a stupid
idea. COVID-19 seems to be being transacted through dogs.
Yeah, allegedly dogs can.
There's a high susceptibility that SARS-CoV-2, your dog can get it from other dogs, and that it can help in your ease to be able to get COVID-19. It can be a contributing factor.
95 football players have come down with COVID, and almost double that for the personnel associated with teams. It's 175. That's coaches, trainers, staff. Why aren't they following the same fucking rules or doing the same thing that the players are allegedly supposed to be doing? Now we're faced with the point of no fans at games anymore. Which kind of sucks. Well, I was going to a fucking game, period. I was definitely going to a game.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen in October at week 3, so I don't believe you.
How could it when there were no fans? See, why you got to be a fucking douche all the time? Some of the time, okay, but all the time now, you're worse than fucking Ren all of a sudden. At least he's not talking.
Yeah. Well, it's because like for whatever reason, the election cycle has made me salty at just like listening to some of the stuff that your poke attacks. And I guess I'm holding on to a lot of resentment for that. And it spills out on a regular basis when I just go, web spewing more fake news.
Okay, I can respect that. I give you that one.
Yeah, it's knee-jerk reaction now more than anything else.
I respect that because that's what you said there is absolutely true. There ain't no doubt about that. I played devil's advocate way too hard with the elections. I'm still going to because it's not over. What are we on? Day fucking 15 now?
Well, technically, according to the Electoral College, the points have already been able to be there. States have been declared. The election is over minus the recounts and the challenges. So
yes,
technically, the election is over.
You have a 2-state recount? How many? I mean, Nevada's going to...
Yeah, but even this 2-state recount won't flip a presidency. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, we're so far out of the realm of this being feasible for Trump to even get this. He'd have to flip 3 or more states in order to actually stop Biden from becoming president.
Yeah, and
not even to win. Like, he would just have to flip 3 states to stop Biden from becoming president. And then it would go to a House committee vote. And there's not enough separation there in any way, shape, or form. I understand his reasoning to go through with certain parts of the process and to challenge it, to, for his base to live up to the vote, and for that. But at some point or another, like, I'm not happy about how the transition's being handled because it's not being handled. I don't like the outright denial that it even exists as a thing, because that's not true. The election has been called. We do have a president-elect in position.
Well, CBS finally called it, and they were one of the most non-biased, waiting. They finally called it 306 to 232.
Who? Which network?
CBS.
Yeah.
CBS. Yeah.
Yeah, they were the longest holdout.
Yeah, the most biased. They wanted to see and wait and see. And now they've got no toss states, no leans, no nothing. Everything's red or blue, and that's that. I think Politico, or there's one other site that's still calling it like undecided with Biden with 254 or some shit like that. Get over it, people.
Yeah, and so I think there's certain things that are going to cause long-term damage in our political system, and one of them is the holdout on like the transfer of power.
I think Biden will heal the country, or try to heal the country, by pardoning Trump immediately.
I mean that would be interesting and entertaining. I mean, I welcome it. Like, that's perfectly fine by me.
I thought long and hard about what Jim was saying Thursday when he called in about the possibility of having 2, 3, 4 presidents.
Oh, back to back because of the Trump to Pence.
Trump stepping down.
Yeah, Trump to Pence to Biden to Kamala, all in the course of like 6 months.
Yeah, and I'm glad I took the bet up with him, because I think now is if Biden is, I don't want to say smart, but I think if the Democrats get together and be like, look, pardon this motherfucker. They did it to Nixon, and it helped heal the country. Everybody hated it when Nixon did it. When Ford did it. But then Ford was given a medal like 20-something years later on for doing it, and it was really good for the country back then because it helped heal and move forward.
Right. It dropped a part of contention.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you eliminate the part of contention where you soothe the base instead of making them still feel like the villain. Because that's the problem. Moving forward, there's going to be one side that feels like the villain, and there's going to be one side that feels like the hero. And somehow you got to stop that separate behavior, and that means you got to make the villain not feel so much like a villain.
And not only that, but by pardoning them, it stops the I'm going to use the term. It stops the witch hunts that have been going on against the president from day one. I mean, even before that, they were trying to fucking impeach him before he was president. Like, how much money and time has our government wasted trying to throw out Donald Trump?
Oh, the first 2 years with the impeachment and everything else, that is absolutely ridiculous that we sat through that much time of inactive government. And it doesn't matter who the president was. The fact that we just had an inactive government that was just trying to unseat somebody because they didn't do anything.
Wasting taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, they didn't do anything for the country, which is what their job is.
Right. And I think,
and it was very clear what the result was going to be. Like, the House was
okay with it. That's the crazy thing, is any Democrats okay with the fact that the amount of money that was wasted?
No.
Well, they did the same thing. I'm sorry, Jim, if you're listening. They did the same thing in the fucking stimulus package. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, when they came back actually after the election and have still said that they won't get back to work on that. That now their main contention was to stay with, well, let's drag this election out as long as we can. But we're not going to do anything until we have an election figured out. And that's both sides that are doing it. So people wake up and see what your government's doing to you.
Yeah, right.
Take a third party approach on it and stop this.
Step out your shoes and look.
Stop this two-party conversation because they're just holding us all hostage to a fight that they want to make it seem like we're having.
But do we have a real third party though? Like seriously?
See, unfortunately, Jess, you missed the conversation on Thursday because the guy we had, Jim, was on Mendrinos. And he explained why there's no third party. It's because when you as a voter take your money and give it to a party, so say on your taxes you say, hey, I'm going to give my $3 to the Democratic Party.
Because you're a registered Democrat. I'm going to give them
Because you're a registered Democrat. Your $3 goes into a giant pool that you have no say over how it gets spent.
Yeah, right, basically a hedge fund.
What Jim was basically saying was, any money you live in New York. Your New York dollars can only be spent in New York.
Elections.
Right.
It would seriously hamstring both sides of the table to the point where it would make a third party viable because they'd actually be able to afford to come into the fray.
Right now, what they were saying, your $3,
they can't commit.
Yeah, what he was saying essentially was that the $3 that you were expecting to be spent in New York right now currently is being spent in Georgia because because that was the point of contention at that moment where they were trying to sort out election stuff. So all of the money in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party is being spent legally on legal consultation in Georgia to get through litigation because it's party money, not state money.
The question is does that...
Sure. So how does that make it so that, like, right now there's not really a viable third party? Like, third parties exist. Like, the Green Party exists and the Libertarian Party exists, but none of them can get anything more than 1% of the vote.
That's not true.
I was going to say Joe Jorgensen this year actually pulled a whole lot more than that, and Gary Johnson was a lot further along before that, and then Joe's expanded on that. The Libertarian Party is actually right now seemingly the viable third party.
13%. Okay, yes. Nowhere near close, right?
Yeah, but you've got to stop these PAC funds. That only his other thing was only people should be allowed to vote. A company should not be able to donate. If you can vote, you can donate, and a company can't vote, so it can't donate. So a person can donate to a political campaign, not a board of electorates.
Right.
And he said that would also help because that limits the funds as well. To where you can't have these super PACs of these major contributors that aren't even people.
Right. That makes sense.
I also I've been wrong. I think it was 8%, and it was Ross Perot. It was 1992, and he was not on the presidential debate campaign trail.
Right. So I think 8% that is something
seen on TV debating.
That's something I'd like to see. I'd like to see a viable third-party alternative. I think that there are some possibilities, like like Joe Jorgensen, like you said.
Well,
what's his face with the Green Party?
But it comes down to funding. Like we know what the barrier is. We know what's stopping a third party is the fact that they can't get national funding in all of the districts around all of the states around all of the United States in order to fund a campaign of the level of what a Democrat campaign or a Republican campaign is because of the super PACs and other stuff. So if you limit the funding more and more instead of allowing these super PACs, that's how you get a viable third party is you have to lessen the cost of the election and you have to lessen the ability to expand cost.
Perot won 18.9% of the popular vote, the largest amount any candidate has ever taken outside of a two-party system since 1912.
That's higher than I thought, for sure. But
yeah,
like,
I checked myself here. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's almost 19%.
Yeah, but he was just running as a pure independent too, right? He didn't actually. He wasn't party affiliated at all. Like,
nope, not at all. Independent. That's one of the reasons why I became an independent back then. I liked him, and I wanted to put my vote in for him.
Yeah.
And in the state
I wasn't allowed to vote
so
in that
I guess
election.
I have a question about how that works then. So what happens if you get, like, what happens with the Electoral College then?
He got none.
None. Okay.
None.
So
the only thing his claim to fame in that was he took more votes in Arkansas than anybody else, and that was Clinton's home state.
Right.
So even Clinton's home state hated Clinton. But he took no electoral.
That's also why Hillary didn't run there and she went to New York.
That was because of the whole, what was that whole scandal that went on with the Clintons in Arkansas?
Yeah, there was a big
checks and balances.
Yeah, there was a big to do.
Like that.
But like I said, that's why Hillary, when Bill was no longer president and she went to run for government so that she could make her run at president, that's why they didn't go back to Arkansas and she went to New York.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that. And then I guess last week, not this past weekend, but the weekend when they were finally like, oh, Biden's got 270 electoral votes. It looks like he's going to win. So I was actually everybody was excited around here, right? In New York, there was like, everyone was super excited, and so was I. But then at the same time, I kind of felt this, I don't know if you'd call it like election hangover or whatever, but like, it was like, okay, we have a new president. That's good. We're not going to have a toddler in the White House anymore. Definitely good. But also, fuck, like 70 million people voted for this person.
That might be a good thing.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that maybe that will help heal things, because even I definitely did not vote for him, but I felt like 70 million people still think that 4 more years of this nonsense would be a good thing. Somehow they think that.
I agree with that statement wholeheartedly.
Like, I was pretty upset by that, because there's no way that I want to spend another 4 years listening to people fact check the fucking president.
That's true. That's gotten so out of hand to the point now. No matter what news aggregator you use, on the right side of your screen is a fact check column.
Yeah, because our president's a pathological liar. Like, that's the problem.
It's not just the president; it's fact checking everything. Let's
okay, but why did this start? This started because he lies every single day about a plethora of things. Okay, like if you just look at his Twitter account, it's like crazy bananas town. Like, I don't understand how anybody wants to continue that insanity. Like, I just don't want 4 more years of that's.
What did I say? Chaos actors. This was there were people who just like watching it burn.
Like,
and that's the crazy part about how many people there are that are just like, yeah, burn.
It made me sad because I live in a country in which 70 million people think that's a good way to be. Like, I was saddened more than I was glad, because it's definitely an improvement, and
Hey, Jess,
but at the same time,
Jess,
the bar is not that high.
Jess,
like,
Jess, you're also relegating a lot of that to, like, that is an opinion that all 70 million of those people just wanted the chaos. when you really take a step back and you look at it, like Webb said when he was talking to Jim Thursday about the reason he voted for Trump, it wasn't because of the chaos. It wasn't because of all the other stuff. It was because he had very conservative, strong beliefs in his domestic economics and foreign policy. And that was the big clincher. And not for anything, if you can put some of the craziness away for a minute and kind of shield yourself from that and dive into some of the real facts about this presidency, you will see some solid moves that were actually made. Like, it's not all chaos. If you really start to dive into it, there were, and even Jim says, as a former Republican, that there were definitely financial and foreign gains in the logical sense of what the United States had been involved in and needed to not be involved in anymore.
Yeah, look how tight we got on China.
Like but look at what they just
we
did.
Had
the
a
Asian
trade
Super
war
PAC.
with China.
Yeah, but the Asian Super PAC. Let's talk about like that new. That's a new terror. Is this new South Asian Super PAC of trade agreement that includes Australia, China, Japan, India, like this new trade agreement that's just popped up over there that is major.
I don't know anything about it. I guess I'd have to do some reading on it.
A lot of money coming that way for sure. But I mean, look what we did with China. I mean, we fucking banned 31 companies off our stock market. Fuck you, get out. Fuck you, get out. We know you're taking your money and fucking supporting military tyrants. Fuck you, get out.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I think that's a good thing. That's a good.
I'll tell you right now, mark my words, Biden will just go, oh, no, that's good.
Let forgive that and totally reverse course on it, which is more detrimental in the long term.
He's going to spend his first 100 days doing nothing but reversing everything Trump had did, regardless of whether he knows it to be right or wrong. Period.
Right, and that's a problem because, like I said, some point you've got to block off the chaos and the insanity that took place. Because I'm not denying the fact that there wasn't a large, rampant bunch of chaos that was created solely by the one person.
Yep.
You know, intentionally. But if you look at some of the finer details and some things, there were some things that were done that needed to be done and would benefit our country for a long term. Unfortunately, though, now because the other side is in charge of now this 51%'s in charge, this 51%'s going to tell that 49% that everything they thought was wrong and is just going to put in the opposite of what that 49%.
You know who the first group of people who get fucked are going to be? The first group of people who get fucked under Biden is going to be all the farmers. Be the first ones to get fucked. You notice
why?
Because he's going to reverse everything that Trump did. The Clean Water Act, which was horseshit to begin with.
So did he say he was going to do that?
No, besides...
Yeah, actually, if you start going over a bunch of his plans and you listen to what he's actually said, yeah, he does plan to reverse course on a lot of Trump administration actions.
Right, he said it right on TV.
I've read a couple of the things he said, and I do... You know, the Paris Climate Agreement.
Mistake.
Sure.
Mistake. Big mistake.
Yeah, we don't need to get back into that. We don't need an agreement with Iran again.
Nope. Big mistake.
That was done the way it is, but he's going to get back into an agreement with Iran, which, you know, there's a lot
oil companies. Big mistake.
There's a lot of government things that aren't even policy. These are government things that are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where the big government has agreed that this is what they are going to do. Republicans and Democrats, big government, long-term government has agreed that these are the wars that we need to be involved in. This is the agreements we need to be involved in to make our corporations that make our weapons and make our materials for weapons the money. So we need to keep these actions in place. There is something to be said for the perpetual violence in the Middle East because, well, it's big money. And when you're, who was it? Who was the exiting president? Eisenhower. That talked about the military-industrial complex and how that is actually the thing that we need to get under control and that we need to acknowledge exists and that we need to, as the people, take control of before it destroys us.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
This is a former general.
9 key points. 9 key points for Joe Biden's plans. 1. Take executive action on day one, not just to reverse all of the damage Trump has done, but to go further and faster.
Yeah, which means he's going to dive back in bed with a lot of the same people that were there before.
He's already electing special interest people. So
not for anything. Actually, if you look at his cabinet's filled with Republicans.
Yeah, that's true.
They're all special interest, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm not denying that fact. These are big government people. These are corporate. These are corporate big government people that he's bringing into the fold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are also the people who were around for the Clintons, the people who were around for the Bushes, the people who were. This is not a change of anything. These are Obama's people. These are people who kept us involved in constant squabble all the time.
Yep.
And even Trump, as contentious as he was unable to stop the military-industrial complex because he said he wanted to pull these people out of these countries. And he got the numbers down, but they told him under no uncertain terms are you pulling these people out.
And he's going to cut the military budget also, which is probably a really bad thing. Since we're not part of NATO, it's a really bad thing.
He's going to cut the military budget because he's going to go for more private-funded companies, and it'll be black money instead of it'll be black budget money instead of publicly funded money. Like we'll see an exorbitant expanse in the black shadow budget that we run that keeps all of our CIA, FBI ops, all our black ops going. There's a budget that is money that is unaccounted for that we just know it goes to programs to protect the country. Then there's the military budget, which is the public budget that we are aware that goes on. He's going to cut that budget, and you'll see the shadow budget probably exponentially grow.
Right. Yeah. I do agree that the Obama administration was incredibly secretive about how they went about doing. So I guess what you call the black budget, like the black.
Well,
ops.
yeah. I mean, I don't because there was an African American president. I don't mean it to be that sense, but that's what it's called.
No, I didn't mean it that way.
Well, I know, but I want to clarify too, because I know there's somebody out there that would interpret that statement out of context, try and wrangle it into a window. And that's not it. Like these are just the terms that are actually used with.
Yeah.
You know, it's money nobody talks about.
Yes. Yeah. The clandestine operations kind of budget.
Yeah. What paid SEAL Team 6.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Obama administration did a whole lot of that.
Oh yeah.
I think
actually their entire going after bin Laden, we have no idea how much money that cost.
That's true. I think if there's anything that, I'm going to try and think positively because I went down like a weird doom hole when this whole thing was going down. But like, I think one positive thing that has happened these 4 years is like I'm paying a lot more attention because I was so
worried.
That
is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't stop. Don't stop paying attention now because your guy's in office.
No, I don't. I don't know that Biden's my guy. I just think he's not a toddler, which is
my point throughout all of this has been the one thing: your civic responsibility, and it is not that knowledge needs to be given to you, but that you need to seek out the knowledge that you wish to know, and you should want to know every fucking thing there is to know. And it is our responsibility to hold them accountable and to make them transparent. And the secret government that we've been dealing with that is in bed with the corporations around this globe, not just in this country, that is invested in the entire global economy that runs our government. We need to know more about how that works. We need to understand what's going on. And in order to do that, we need to elect officials that are going to open those doors.
Right.
And we know we're not going to get it out of a red or a blue.
Yeah, I think I got really interested in what the God, what are they called? The Lincoln Party was doing. Like, what are they gonna do now? Because their whole thing was, fuck this dude. Yes, we're Republican, but really, fuck that dude. And they were so well funded. You guys probably saw the whole thing with the billboards in Times Square and the crazy commercials. They would go out of their way to buy ad space that they knew Trump was watching just to troll him.
Did anybody watch the first Leah Remini Scientology expose season that she did, and then did you watch the second one that she's done?
Aftermath.
Aftermath is really good because Aftermath, instead of just talking about how crazy this group can do things, now she's arguing the statement that we all agree with: follow the money.
Yeah.
Follow the money and look at what the money's doing, and look at how they manage to get more money. And look at their policies within the organization on how they gain more assets. I just found out that and didn't know that because of Aftermath. Did you know that Scientology and the Muslim Brotherhood are together?
Yes!
Did you hear that Farrakhan has almost all but turned the
You see, this is the problem. You don't listen to anything I said. This is what I said last week, the week before that.
Yeah, this is what you were saying last time about that guy and how I was like, wait, I know who that is. This is how I know who that is.
Muslims thump. And the fact is, every Muslim who fucking signs up for Scientology and pays them all the stupid, exorbitant amount of money for their so-called courses to work up the ladder.
Oh, Dianetics.
In his pocket, 10 grand a head in his pocket.
Dude, it was crazy listening to these guys who have left the Nation of Islam.
No shit, because Farrakhan's a piece of shit.
Because they're like, dude, our entire basis has been sold out for a non-religious religion.
Yeah. It's the same way.
He's like, what the fuck did we do? And by the time they're in there and you see what's going on, it's too late.
It's too late.
Yep.
It's too late. Farrakhan did it for the money.
I just got done with the Clearwater situation because Clearwater, Florida is supposedly one of the only places that's been able to fight Scientology the best.
Somewhat. Yeah.
They've been the best at it. Like, everywhere else has just kind of rolled over and fucking died. Clearwater has somehow managed to still stay afloat and fight some.
I got obsessed. I was obsessed with Scientology at one point. Like, have you read the book?
Which, Dianetics?
No, not Dianetics. Like, just the idea of it, like, as a cult. You know, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like not. Oh no, I'm gonna be a Scientologist now.
Okay, you're talking about some of the literature from outside of the organization, analytics about what they do and how they are and stuff like that too.
Yeah, yeah. So the book Going Clear, that's written by Lawrence Wright.
Okay.
It's amazing. It like the first half of it is just like L. Ron Hubbard's life and the crazy stuff he did. Like, did you know that? So he had a kid with this woman, and then he kidnapped the kid, and she would be calling him like, hey, is my daughter okay? Like, can you bring her back, please? And he's like, you know what? I killed her and chopped her up into pieces, and then hang up. and then call her back the next day. Yeah, no, she's fine. She's okay. Like,
he was essentially bipolar in a lot of his actions and reactions with people. It's interesting to go back and take a look at the guy that started Scientology. Yeah, if you go to the root of it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a cult leader.
And lately, I've started. I don't know if you guys have seen all the stuff that's out lately about that other cult, NXIVM.
Oh God.
Never.
Yeah, but they were established as a cult already, and they've narrowed that down. They're like, this shit right here was dingbat crazy. Just so y'all know.
You missed those too, J7. I tried to bring that up the other day. That fucker's in jail now.
Yeah.
He is. He got sentenced to 120 years.
Yeah. Thump was going to be part of that. He was like, sex cult, I'm all for it. All for it.
Okay, but you'd only be having sex with him, though, with the cult leader guy.
That's not really true. They were probably just passing him around.
I was like, it's probably a harem of things. It's probably just big orgies all the time.
I mean, you can consider what Epstein was doing pretty much a fucking cult. He recruited in 116 of his best friends to fuck all his people.
Yeah.
To me, that's cult.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I read the Black Book. The names in there. Oh boy. Okay. There's some, it's like a fucking boys club, a cult.
Well,
that's why he got.
And the door swung open on the Epstein stuff, and it made all of these, what people thought was just crazy stories, it made everything real.
Yeah.
And now that people are seeing the fact of real, and then you get a look at just conspiracy, some of the names that are actually involved in this, and knowing that this is real, and these are some speculative names that are just associated with that. And that's why I say, also, that's why I made the pitch about Alex Jones, too, because not for anything, 20 years ago, he went above and beyond the call of any journalist to dive into the woods and witness the owl ceremony being put on by, now I can't remember the name of the group, but they're a secret organization that is very entangled into the government. And to just know that it exists, one, when he put it out there, nobody knew that this group even existed, and they've been around for a long time. Now people acknowledge that the group exists, but they say it's not nefarious, even though, I mean, bruh, y'all worship an owl god. Everybody has seen it. Everybody has seen it.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that was you. So for you to just say now that's not you, that was us then, but that's not us now. It's like, okay. Oh, okay. It's like, I believe some change is possible. But but I don't.
InfoWars.
Yeah, InfoWars, Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theorist.
Well, to a degree. He definitely goes out on the deep end on some stuff, but
what was his biggest
everybody knows that every lie is tainted with a little bit of truth.
Oh, his biggest conspiracy theory was that the Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's the one that got. Well, that's the one that. No, Sandy Hook was a lie.
Yeah,
Sandy Hook. That was the one that got him banned from everywhere. Was the fact that he said Sandy Hook was false flag. That those were chaos actors. That they were put into place. If you notice, during the time of all school shootings, there were these people that were somehow familiar in each of the scenarios. So if you look, you'd see the same people showing up at these things, and they were the people that were being put on TV. That they would just do certain things, and that you would see this person and this person. Well, how is that a student from this school and then also another student from this school in another part of the country? Because it really wasn't. They were some blips on the radar. When you get a news story that was just a reporter talking to kid, it was never a big zero in on the kid thing. It was just, oh, these poor children. And it was a haze of children, and then they would use that same child in another well put together situation where a news reporter would talk to a child, kind of thing, and saying that these chaos actors, as Alex Jones like to call them, were meant to put a calm voice in front of these supposedly chaotic events to make you more sympathetic to the regulations that they were going to put in place because of these catastrophic events. But yeah, he said Sandy Hook was completely made up, that the entire event was all like, I'm sure y'all have seen where your local government gets together and does disaster scenarios where your police and y'all do it, I'm sure a lot in New York you've seen, where they show how to deal with certain possible situations.
Usually get
disaster readiness groups.
Yeah, you usually get a notice if it's going to happen near you. Hey, we're doing a disaster recovery, and you might see people in hazmat suits. Nothing's going on.
Yeah, and so essentially that's what he was saying. Sandy Hook was it was fake. The entire thing was staged, but under the guise to make you believe it actually happened. And that was what got him banned from Twitter and YouTube and everywhere else that he's been banned from.
Yeah, I'm going to grab a beer, but I will say this. The only conspiracy theory that I don't want to say believe in, but I kind of lean towards it, like, well, maybe that's a good possibility, of Jones's is his climate change. That climate change is a hoax brought on by the World Bank to control the carbon tax.
Which was a thing that was only instilled at the point that they brought forth the greenhouse gases and started emitting carbon taxes, which is also what developed the large U.S. government and how China became a big superpower in the group, because China started buying off our carbon tax and da-da-da-da-da, and that's how the money moved.
Yeah, they fucking trade and sell cars. Oh, we didn't pollute enough this year, and we've got extra credits. So, hey, China.
China was buying them all for the longest time. They didn't actually own our debt. They owned our carbon tax because we weren't utilizing it, and they were overproducing, and that's what got China all its money.
Yep, and now China has the stiffest carbon policy.
Of course.
I mean, well, there's so fucking smog over there. You can only drive your car odds or even days based on your license plate.
Yeah.
They've taken cars off the fucking road. But that's the only one that I kind of feel,
I'm with him on some of the secret society stuff too, because I do believe in these shadow groups that are definitely, I don't call them the Illuminati. That's a recognized name to just kind of put out there that you believe that there is a group that exists that is up to the real control. He's the guy who turned to President Clinton when Clinton was like, if there's aliens there, they're not telling me. That's the guy who said, fuck you, it's above your pay grade. And it's like, wait, you're a U.S. president. How is anything above your fucking pay grade?
Yes, I don't know if I even believe that climate change is real and all that shit. It happens every fucking couple thousand years anyway. But the other thing I couldn't stand about him is his flip on the NFL, and they were kneeling for white supremacists and not injustice. that kind of.
Well, now he said some
Did you
wild
guys see
shit.
the thing with the? Okay, so this is wild, but when he said they're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, that was about the Flint water situation.
Yeah. But check out, there's a video on YouTube that just kind of came up on my recommended, and I was like, what?
That's great. Listening to our conversations.
And there's this guy who made a video about how certain chemicals actually feminize frogs.
Well, okay, hold on. Now, the real science behind it, though, is a frog is asexual. It can be either or. It changes periodically through its life based on necessity of the environment.
Yeah.
So the argument that frogs are turning frogs gay, it's silly in itself, because that's not actually a thing that could ever occur it's not male for male. It's an adaptive species that changes sex based on the need for the environment. So it was just a silly stance to have, and not for anything. I mean, like I said, it's more of the reason why I think Alex Jones needs to be around, because you need that kind of comedic value in things, as well as the ability to talk about some of the most bizarre shit that goes on in the world that there is some fact behind. There is some degree of fact. Like, we all know Skull and Bones exist. We all know that it started in Ivy League schools, and it has elected more public officials into very high-ranking than any other agency in the world.
Yeah, the Harvard Group and not the Illuminati. What's the other one? The Crusade of
New World Order is the big one now. Like, it's getting a rehash.
Roosevelt was the Crusaders. With the cross on the chest. Who was that? I fucking forgot now. Anyway, he was one of them.
Oh, Templars.
Yes, Templars.
The Masons and the Templars and the Scottish Knights.
Knights Templar. Yeah, in fact, Roosevelt was one of the people who was fucking on Oak Island looking for all that goddamn treasure.
Yeah. He had been there at one point and helped fund a portion of it.
Years. And when he released, because he's went to Roosevelt Library, right? Yeah. There's thousands upon thousands of documents while he was president still talking about Oak Island.
Actually, that is the most impressive presidential library because of the gifts that he had received from foreign leaders.
70,000 letters from his personal writings.
Yeah, well, it's most impressive. Like, if you look at the gifts that were exchanged, and they are all accompanied by letters, that of stuff that was returned to go on display in this library from other world leaders that he had sent them with the letters that they had been sent. Like, there's a lot of stuff. This place is treated like a museum of one of the greatest forms of knowledge that we've ever had from the seat of the president.
Wasn't it? It was his own fucking house that he turned. Is his house. It was his house, his fucking house he lived in, that they turned into a museum.
Yeah, I think that's...
Or, excuse me, a library.
Right.
Where do you think they're going to build a Trump library?
I believe he's going to try and build it in New York. I believe wholeheartedly he's going to go to New York and he's going to put it there.
I think Florida, because he's a resident there.
Oh, what, at Mar-a-Lago?
Well, or somewhere down there, yeah. Maybe right in the fucking capital.
Who?
The Trump library. Every president gets a library.
Yeah. Once it was established, like, every president since then has sat down and done theirs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably Mar-a-Lago, right? That's where he spends most of his time.
I'm thinking Mar-a-Lago or New York. I honestly think that he would really try and go to New York because he knows that it would there be the most seen.
It would also annoy people the most.
Oh yeah, and he's got a knack for that shit. So I think New York's more the real idea. A Trump library is going to more than likely be in New York.
Let's see if there's any talk on that yet.
He already owns the property. There wouldn't be open discussion probably about it.
No, I'm saying the presidential library. Trump will get a portrait no matter what. Of course, he's a president, so that's going to be in the fucking White House forever.
All I think about when I hear portrait is the one that he hung up in the Oval Office that was of him and Reagan and all of them playing cards sitting around the table.
Yeah. He should have gotten Epstein's paintings and changed the ones in the fucking White House to that. That would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
Clinton in a dress and
yeah, that would have been hilarious. Just like the camera pans around in the Oval Office and there's Clinton in a blue dress.
Yeah, he's getting a library. He's getting a library and a portrait. Yep.
Yeah, well, we know the library and the portrait are like those are the every president things, but
yeah,
the big thing is, like you said, location. Because location has been very, very special. Because Reagan's library is in California, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
You know, which is odd when you look at California as the democratic state that it is, that the greatest leader of the free world to come out of California was a Republican.
You know, the portraits aren't done till after you leave office.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And it's 2 portraits that are done, by the way. I did not know that.
Right.
I didn't know there were 2. I thought it was
Facebook,
just
leave
one.
us alone.
It's 2. One hangs in the White House, obviously, and the other one hangs in the National Portrait Gallery. I don't know where that is.
Oh, I've been there.
I was going to say, I think that's just on one of those tours in DC.
Yeah, it's one of those tours in DC. You can it's one of the big Smithsonian museums. There's like a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's in Washington DC, the National Portrait Gallery. Ooh, that is a beautiful building.
Yeah, Democratic Washington DC, National Portrait. Okay, yeah, I see it. He also gets to go to Disney World for the rest of his life.
For free?
Well, he's in Disney, Hall of Presidents.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if they still have the Hall of Presidents, I don't know if they still do. I used to like that myself.
Look at the courtyard of this place. That is amazing. That's got to be a recent renovation. I haven't seen that before.
Wait, the Portrait Gallery?
National Portrait Gallery.
I've been there.
I had been there too, but I don't remember this courtyard.
Do you think Biden will invite Trump to the White House for the unveiling of his portrait?
I don't see
Does
why
he have
not.
to be invited for it?
It's customary, but it has taken place before that. You know, the new president said, you know, you went all that shit, go fuck yourself.
Wow.
Biden can turn around and do that. Just be like, fuck you.
He
I mean, you got to remember, Trump pretty much tried to chew Biden and his son apart.
Well, yeah, that's never been done.
He did.
Politics, though. It's politics, though.
Well, yeah, I know it is, but you know, sometimes it's hurt.
The one action above all that's been pointed at is when you look at Biden and Kamala. They pressed Kamala on the statements that she made about Biden in the vice presidential debates, and that her only defense in any of that was, it was a debate. It was a debate.
Yeah.
So that basically she was supporting the fact that they just spew nonsense during the debate. The debate is actually just an attack campaign, not anything other than.
I mean, I will say that the debates are not like fact checked. You know, you just even before let's talk about.
They're not fact based either. They are literally they're a jab match.
Oh yeah, it's so pathetic. I remember the debates when I was younger.
I love policy conversations, man.
It was factual.
Me too, but not barring the recent one where they were just interrupting each other.
Right.
You know, I actually really liked the previous ones where they would actually talk about policies and things they wanted to do, even if they got jabs in here and there, like the whole binders thing.
Right.
With Obama,
this doesn't stand with your record. I understand you're saying this, but this doesn't stand with your record. Check out what he's actually voted on most of these times. Like those type of jabs, I feel are appropriate because if you've got a voting record, like especially a Senate or House voting record that you can point to in the state that somebody's trying to stand on a point that they've never supported before, like that kind of jab on policy and on stance, I believe is highly warranted and highly recommended. But you're right. What we saw during this election cycle wasn't a conversation of policy or anything else. This was a personal attack that looked like two grumpy old men hanging out in Kentucky and West Virginia talking about each other.
Yeah.
A la McCoy Hatfields that had no basis in anything. It was, you killed my pig.
So, question for you, J7, as we were discussing all of this political jibber jabber. Yeah, that's right. Gee, I said jibber jabber. Have
Isn't
you?
that copyrighted?
Probably. Have you watched
Jibber jabber?
He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it could be with him. Have you, J7? Have you watched any of Biden's speeches since he is our president-elect?
Yeah, I have.
I was curious. I don't need to know which ones. I was just, like I said, curious because I haven't seen them at all on TV. But then I've been so focused on financial news.
Well, because the change in presidency here has a massive effect on world finance. Like, there are going to be some sweeping major changes, but we don't know exactly how those are going to go yet.
Dollar's already fallen. It ain't worth shit against China. It's fucked up.
Yeah, but see, China just is really seeing the boom because of the announcement of the Southern Atlantic Pact.
Yes.
So that's the surge in the Asian market that is diminished the U.S. market.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen his speeches. They are about in line with what I expected. He's not said anything outside of, he's made some announcements. He's talking about, I guess, do you have a specific question or should
I'm curious if you were following along with what his speech is. You see, now that the elections are over, no fucking channel is broadcasting speeches. Like Trump was President Trump was one of the most spoken presidents in the history of presidents, period. Anytime that guy went into the fucking Rose Garden to get on a helicopter, he spoke to the press.
He did talk to the press a lot.
Most outspoken presidents, even more than Obama, and Obama was very.
Yeah, and Obama was out there. Obama was, but Obama broke the mold and was doing odd stuff like going on Jimmy Kimmel and David Letterman and doing cool guy shit. Like he was a celebrity president that came from nobody to being a celebrity president. Where what we got this time was a celebrity that became president that kind of avoided all the mainstream stuff and stayed to, I'm the president, I get my own camera, motherfuckers. And that's what Trump did. Trump became there's my camera, and it's my camera, and I'll say what I want to in front of it.
Mm-hmm. Except, like, during the election, they started cutting him off when he was saying things like I won.
Some wild exaggerated statements. Now, hold on. What do you? I'm going to ask this directly to you, Webb. What do you think? And before we wrap this up, what is your opinion on his lack of doing his job since November 2nd? The fact that he has essentially been invisible inside the White House and is completely enthralled with the election and the election results.
Yeah, I think it's disgusting. I think again, you were elected to do a 4-year job that ends on fucking January 19th, and you should do your job. Just not being present. I haven't even heard him give a radio fucking speech. I mean, Obama, I don't know if anybody knows this, but Obama used to give a radio speech every day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
365 days a year, including fucking Christmas. Every day he gave a radio speech.
I didn't know that.
Yep. I haven't seen, heard a whisper from our current president since November 3rd.
Yeah, except to say that
I won the election, or
I won the election, it's rigged, whatever. Like,
suck my dick right to the fucking Senate floor or the Supreme Court. Yes. That's all you hear out of him. You hear nothing about anything. The fact that we just pulled more troops out, nothing was said. Zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He did, actually, he did do one around I want to say a couple of days ago, when they announced that Pfizer had a working vaccine.
Oh yeah. Which
he did do a speech where he basically seemed. So he talked about, kind of what the distribution plans would be technically, and then he also seemed to be like, oh well, I don't know what's gonna happen with whatever. Like, I forget what the words exactly. He was like, I know this administration won't be doing whatever. I guess we'll see how things go. Like, he seemed to kind of accept the result of the election and then sort of not, like, try to pretend like it was in the air somehow. I remember that. And then I guess that was it. And then immediately, like a day or two later, Biden did a speech where he talked about some of the things he was trying to do, like with the first 100 days in office. He talked about how he would treat kind of a distribution plan. Yeah. He talked about some of the people that he was going to appoint. And then somebody asked him what he thought about Trump, being a weirdo. And then he was like, it's kind of embarrassing. And I mean, all this to say, that's really the only time I've seen Trump do any kind of press officially.
And Thumb, to answer your question, I think he's sitting back with his thumb up his ass, still whining and pouting.
Yeah, I was just wondering because like the consensus is he's been kind of a ghost since the election, and I was wondering how a member of the Trump voting community felt about him not living up to the words that he had used previous to the election results, which was, my job is to work until the 20th. Yeah. When I'm no longer the president. And now he's went kind of AWOL inside the office and is not being in any way active with like the day-to-day running of the government. He's just kind of got it on autopilot right now.
True that. All right, 8-Bit Bros Tuesday. I apologize to anybody who stayed around and listened. No, we did not get to talk Destiny.
Yeah, look, Jay, find your way to be here Thursday. We need to have this conversation because me and Webb got into it a little bit earlier, just on a personal level. I called him up after I met the Crow and was like, I feel a certain sort of way right now, bro, and I need to talk.
The only thing I can say without destroying anything for Jay or Thump, who might not be anywhere, there is no Horkmoon quest yet, even though we know it's part of the new DLC. Hasn't popped yet. The Stranger this week has new fragment quests, but nothing new for your aspect of stasis, so that's a kind of a waste of time. Varix, again, has no new nodes, even though the Sabotage quest line is active. And, stay away from the Nightfall. Don't bother. I'm sure by tomorrow morning we'll have a new Nightfall. This one is bugged. This one is bugged and glitched again.
8-Bit Bros, we out.
We out. I'm going to get my Corsair's Wrath. Peace.